What's going on, football fans? It's me, J.R. Clark, back again with another Pound for Pound ATL Live, joined as always by my main man, Jonathan Holder. Jonathan, what's going on, brother?
Man, it is a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Was out amongst the masses and all the Falcons faithful this morning, and luckily it wasn't too terribly hot.
No, it
Unlike the
wasn't.
last couple days.
Yeah, no, it definitely wasn't super hot. It was nice as far as the cloud cover. The sun finally broke through as we were leaving. So that was kind of nice. We actually had a pretty decent breeze and didn't sweat to death. Obviously, we are talking about me and Jonathan were up at training camp today, up there with our closest thousands of people. Good Lord, there was a lot of people up there.
There was so many people.
Oh man! All right, well we got a lot of.
Well, so before we get just in case you guys haven't been paying attention to like Twitter and stuff like that about the training camp stuff, or you may have missed it somehow. There was a tweet probably right around when it first started. I can't remember who exactly it was, but they basically were tweeting out like the traffic to get to the parking was backed up all the way to the highway.
Yep.
And we were seeing people literally still waiting in line to get through the gates. Probably an hour into practice.
Yeah.
An hour and a half into practice, really. We were seeing people and we're like, there's like maybe a half hour left of this thing.
Right.
It wasn't nearly as big, but we were still seeing people there. So there was a lot
of folks there.
A lot.
All right. Well, let's get into it. Yes, we were
right off the bat. I just want to say, MJ, you're very welcome. It was a blast for us, and it was an awesome day today.
Yeah, very much so. And for anybody who might be joining us, live tonight, who saw us and dapped us up at training camp, I talked to one gentleman who flew in yesterday from Houston, Texas, to be at training camp, watches our show, and then told me he was flying back tonight to be at Texans training camp tomorrow. Which I was like, that is some dedication right there. That is some fun. Awesome to meet all the content creators that we met. Finally got to shake hands with Smitty Sports Machine, the guys from One Time to the Fans, Chase. Oh man, I feel bad. I know his name is Chase. I cannot remember the name of his podcast.
I got to meet Big Low for the first time.
Right. What is this $3 super sticker? What is that? I don't know what this is.
Appreciate it, Dave. Whatever that is.
Yeah, if you gave me $3, awesome. Appreciate you. I'm not sure what that is. Either way, no big deal. I'm trying to see if I can find that. I'm gonna feel bad unless I find it. Let's see. Give me 2 seconds. 2 seconds. There it is. It's the Dirty Fanatics United is the name of. And his name is Chase, and he was from down south Georgia. He's talking about it took him 4 hours to get up to Flowery Branch, and I was like, good Lord. So anyway, there's a ton of stuff for us to get into. So training camp day 4, like I said, you made the perfect call, because I didn't want to be like the overbearing weirdo, right? When I was hitting you up and I was like, hey, do you want to be first through the gate, or do you want to get there right about the time the gates open? I was gonna leave it up to you, right?
Yeah, he did not.
Yeah, you were like, let's be the first through the gate. Holy crap! I'm not gonna spend a ton of time on that, but the amount of people that I haven't. We were up there at training camp the year after the Super Bowl, and there wasn't that many people.
Nope.
And so I don't know if people were just super excited to see like Bijan Robinson, out there making plays. If people are just super excited because we finally got to spend a ton of money in free agency. But the the fan base, at least, definitely is stoked right now.
Yes.
And that much is enjoyable.
Well, and I remember we were sitting there, and you actually brought up a good question, and I mean, I had an answer to it. Whether it's the right answer or not is anybody's guess, really. But it's like you're sitting there and you're looking at it, and you're like, we didn't, we're 2 times 7 and 9 seasons.
Yeah, 7 and 10.
What is it about this season, like this upcoming season so far, that has got people so stoked that literally, again, we were having people that were literally showing up, walking past us to go find a spot an hour plus into practice. So they were only going to be able to watch about an hour of or
Shoot,
less of practice.
there was a guy who walked up and I overheard him talking to another guy, uh, who just walked up probably about to 5 minutes before we walked out of there, and he
Oof.
just got there. I was like,
Oof.
"What are you doing?" I mean, I get it, whatever. You do you, have fun, whatnot. But maybe maybe some folks wanted to show up to just try to get an autograph signing.
Yeah, that's
Who
true.
knows? And don't want to sit through the whole thing. And that's fine. That's whatever. But on to like the important stuff. Like, because you got you know, Anonymous, aka Dr. Slicknuts. He's asking the important questions like how the boys looking. And Jarvis is saying they needed to chill on Ritter. I get it. So let's actually get into
Yeah.
the things that were transpiring. All right, Eddie Goldman, as a lot of y'all probably figured when the news broke that we had brought in Justin Ellis and Kamiko Turi yesterday, that Eddie Goldman was probably out. He hadn't practiced as of yet, and like we saw him walk into the building on Tuesday, but
Yep.
that's all we'd seen of him. Well, obviously, either he felt that Georgia heat and didn't want nothing to do with it, or
Don't
you
necessarily
know,
blame him for that either, if that's the
right?
case.
Who knows, right?
Yeah.
Maybe he didn't come in the greatest shape, and the coaching staff was. Either way, he's out, and he's on the left squad exempt list, not the
Yep.
retired list,
For,
but the left squad exempt list.
First time I've ever
So,
seen that. I had never seen that brought up before. It may have
right,
been, but I just never noticed it.
right.
Which, being on that list until he officially puts in his retirement papers, is where
Maybe
he
that's what.
needs to go. Now, what that does mean, though, is that for whatever reason, maybe he just doesn't want to deal with training camp. I don't know. But for whatever, and I don't think this is going to happen. And most people that I've seen online, they don't think it's going to happen. But being on the list that he's on right now, if nothing changes about that, he could literally join the team at any time. Now they'd have
Right.
to, yeah,
Yep.
yeah, yeah.
Yep.
MJ, exactly.
Yeah, it's like, can Eddie still come back though? I wonder if he will. Like he can come back. But
This is twice now.
yeah, man, if you're
This is
the
twice
coach,
now.
if you're the head coach, if you're like Arthur Smith or Terry Fontenot, like, are you even wanting to entertain the idea at this point? This is
Yeah.
twice that this guy has basically been like, yeah, let's do this. No, I don't want to do this.
Yeah. Yeah. So
So
and it's not even necessarily a like, screw this guy. He's messed up. It's probably with, like they understand like, hey, you don't want to do it, that's fine. But at some point it's gotta be like, we can't keep going round and round like this.
that's it.
You know,
And
so
also, just to let Chris know, no, we did not get fined.
yes.
And like, I did some like undercover recording. So I didn't even get talked to. So that did good this time.
Although I would have loved to have gotten that letter from Coach Smith.
That
I would
was
have
pretty
framed
good.
it. I would have framed it.
Dude, that's like, look, Coach Smith has got a sense of humor that, is like
Very
very,
low key.
very low key and very like sarcastic driven.
Yes.
Which I can appreciate and I am definitely a fan of. Um, let's see. Okay. Where are we going from here? Okay. So speaking of Justin Ellis and Kamiko Turi,
Yep.
they actually signed both of those guys.
Yeah.
It was officially announced today, and to our understanding, Justin Ellis and Kamiko Turi were both practicing today. I know for sure Justin Ellis was.
They both were in today. I didn't find this out until way after we had left. I was reading Rothstein's his observations, and he was like, yeah, they were both there, but like I didn't even know to look for them.
Right. Yeah, I didn't know to look for him either. And apparently Ellis would have had a potential sack on Woodside. So if they're ramping him up, they're ramping him up on the third stringers.
Yes.
If he's
Yep.
going to have a sack on Woodside.
Yeah.
So now this is possible. MJ's still talking about Goldman. It says somebody said it was a family matter. Maybe big understanding that they're willing to wait on him, or maybe before the season starts. Who knows?
Like I say, it could literally be like, hey, we understand maybe you don't want to do. I don't think that the mentality that Coach Smith wants to have for this team would facilitate him being okay with a guy simply saying, I don't want to do training camp. And so I'm just going to go away and I'll come back and I'll be in shape and this, that, and the other. Because everything that's been talked about with this team has been these guys like to come out here. They like to practice hard. They like to compete. They like to, all these things. So having that agreement with an now, Eddie Goldman's a good player, but he's not a JJ Watt type player.
Right.
If he was a JJ Watt, like prime JJ Watt kind of guy, or even late prime, JJ Watt, and that was a guy that was like, I don't, I will work out, I will, and this and that and the other. Maybe I could see it with that guy.
Right. And also,
I
like,
don't know.
You have a different expectations with a guy like an Eddie Goldman who's already retired, once, and all this other jazz, and a guy like Calais Campbell who's a 16-year vet. Like, obviously he's dealing with something. He's on an NFI list, non-football injury, and so it's a deal where they're comfortable. They're talking about him being back in about 10 days or so. So that might put him like maybe after the first preseason game. But a 16-year vet, what he's about, as far as his business. We also got some good news on Hennessy. It doesn't sound like it seems like the MRI came back good. So they're just going to take it day to day.
The way I read is like came back better than expected.
Right.
They hope to see him back sooner rather than later. My understanding was sometime next week.
Right. Exactly. And so that's good to hear. And it gives Bergeron a chance to like really put his stamp on that first string, or at least work with the first string, but it doesn't force him into that role, kind of like it did with Mayfield back in, a couple years back. So Chris asks a great question. Was there a position group that stood out to you guys? I'll say this, as far as like reports that we've had up to this point in the week, this was the best the offense looked all week, which is encouraging. And I will say this, Mac Hollins is looking like a steal right now. He is not hard to miss out there on the field with his hair, and not just his hair. Dude looks like he could play linebacker almost.
Yeah. Dude's ripped to shreds.
Right.
And he and I saw a thing after practice and everything in Coach Smith's press conference, or maybe he just talked to somebody afterwards. But either way, he was basically like, we were well aware of Mac Hollins' eccentricities before we signed him.
With his like, I'm gonna eat like anybody who uses silverware is soft.
Yeah.
You better walk around without shoes on.
Yep. But man's walking on Georgia pavement with no shoes on. Oof, man.
Yeah. Now, but the wide receivers have, in general, have looked good. Xavier Malone, as far as like MJ's asking how Xavier Malone looked out of the undrafted guys, it was somebody that we highlighted, when we were talking about the undrafted. We said that, the position that we felt like could, stick is is a wide receiver. I was thinking maybe Justin Marshall just because of his body type, but Xavier Malone is definitely making a name for himself early in camp. Now, if he's going to be good enough to beat out Scotty Miller? Probably not, but he's probably going to be good enough to make the practice squad at minimum. Whatever he might do on special teams will be if he cracks the 53 or not. Let's see. But as far as like somebody had made a comment, I posted the clips of what I had taken up there at Flowery Branch, and somebody was asking about, oh, the wide receivers not separating. Is that a problem? Is that a concern? I actually like in the clips that I posted, they didn't necessarily separate, but they're getting plenty of separation.
Like they're getting enough in the NFL when you're going up when it looks like you're going up against good defenses, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like when you're going up against good defenses, you're not going to get that 3-4 yard separation consistently. You might get it on occasion, but you're going to have guys that are tight coverage. You're going to have to throw into tight windows, and I saw somebody on one of the YouTube video you put out earlier made that comment. I responded to him. I was like, we want to see this in training camp. We want to see tight coverage. We want to see guys that are playing in the hip pocket of the receivers, because if you're able to complete passes that way, and it's harder in training camp to do so, then when you go up against not lesser, but you go up against different guys that are maybe not as good, or the defense just isn't as good, or whatever, then things are going to be even easier for you when you have bigger windows to throw to.
Mm-hmm.
But also, you got guys, even 4 days in, they're seeing the same guys over and over again. They're seeing a lot of the same stuff over and over again. They're seeing guys, that's one of the reasons why it's so hard to beat a team 3 times throughout a year. And that's even with that kind of separation of time. Like when you're seeing guys day in, day out, same things, a lot of the same stuff, you're going to recognize certain things. And so it's going to be a lot easier to stick with those guys.
Oh yeah. Fred, I'm gonna get to that. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna get to all of that. There was like a clip going around of Ritter supposedly underthrowing Drake London, and whether he did or didn't, like we don't necessarily know. And the reason why I would like something me and Jonathan were talking about on the way back, when you take the entirety of the practice in context. So I'm going to put this as Fred Butts' question. Okay.
Well, and that was also his very first pass of the entire practice.
Right. So if you put the entire practice into context, like Ritter looked sharp the entire practice, like outside of this one throw. Now, we don't know what was said, what instructions were given to the DB, to the to Ritter himself. But I will say this, before everything really got going, Drake London was down there doing like individual workouts. And I'm not saying this is the causation. Understand that. Yes. But the drills that Drake London was doing were the like catching over somebody. Like he literally had a dummy that he was catching the ball around and over. Like
he was having like a staffer throwing him the ball, and he was just catching it around the dummy. And by the way, you made the comment when it was happening. It was really funny just watching him. You turn away and look back, and you see Drake London just dragging this dummy. You're like,
what are you doing? It's like, but what I want to get at is a lot of times when you see these clips, we don't know what instruction was given. Like it literally could have been, hey, this is something we want to work on with Drake London today. We want to work on that, like that snatch over, comeback kind of catch. And like that first pass, they could have been like, hey, Ritter, leave this one a little short so that he can do this, so that he can practice this. I'm not saying that's what happened, but when you see clips like that, that's something that you need to keep in mind, is that we don't know the context of what is going on like what the training staff is asking. Sometimes they do and will practice very particular situations.
Yep.
So because sometimes you just need to hone that in.
Yeah, and
So
the thing that was brought up was, for all we know, that particular rep, they were like, we're going to, and because it was a 1-on-1, this was not a 7-on-7, this
right,
was not 11-on-11, this was 1-on-1 between wide receiver and DB, and they may have been like, told Ritter like, hey, we're simulating, safety help over the top,
exactly,
and so he's trying to fit it in over the cornerback, under the safety, and then Okuda is able to make the distance up, and
and make the play.
he makes a play. So yeah,
Dave says,
totally agree.
are you concerned about the punt return position with Avery Williams was reliable? I'm not concerned. This will be a question that I can only answer once we actually see it starting to happen in preseason. Um, they have a handful of guys that they're running out there. Mike Hughes is a guy who did it in college at UCF. They're trying Bijan out there. I think that's probably like a last resort kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But as of right now, and I think we are going to miss Avery Williams. Like
Yes.
he was one of the most consistent punt returners in the league last few years. But am I concerned? Not as of right now. Um, let's see.
Well, and I would agree with that. Like, but and I would also say this, like, the same special teams coach is coming back, right? We're not changing special teams coach.
Right.
Why would we when we had one of the better special teams units out there last year with a couple of blocked punts? I think we even had a blocked field goal at some point. We had returns, like good returns and everything. So we had good coaching there. And on top of that, we've raised the floor of talent
Yep.
across the entire team, which now is going to give you better talent in special teams. And so I'm going to trust the coaching staff that brought us that product last year with lesser talent.
Right.
When he has more talent going forward, I feel like I'm willing to trust them. So I'm not. It's a concern, and we'll see how big of a concern it is going
Yeah.
forward once we get into the games. But like for
It's
now, I'm not necessarily worried about it. I trust that the coaches know what they're looking for, and if they have it, then once they see it, they'll know what it is.
right. Yeah, I completely agree. Let's see this statement. It says, MJ says, I know the pads aren't on yet, but how do you think Matthew Bergeron was looking, filling in left guard? It's hard to tell. And the
Yeah,
reason why I pulled this particular one is because there's a lot that's hard to tell without pads on.
yep,
So the first part of your statement is, the part that makes it tough, even with the, punt return, kick return type duties, until you have pads on, uh, nothing means anything until preseason and we make adjustments, right? Until we are going full speed. I know everybody's like, "Oh, preseason doesn't count." It counts in the sense of like getting things honed in before the season starts.
absolutely.
So until everything is going full football speed, it's going to be hard to really tell. Now, I say that
I just want to say I was really I honestly like the many years that I've been to training camp, and I've been going to training camp for many years. I think 2008 was I might have gone once or twice before then, but really from 2008 for like a bunch of consecutive years, I went to training camp, and almost universally, the third day, the third day that it was open to public,
mhm,
was generally the day the pads came on. So I was expecting it today. We didn't get it.
no,
So it sounds like we're going to get it Monday.
right,
So I was really disappointed with that, and it does make things like I was specifically looking for Bergeron. He looked like, from what I saw, he was moving well. Like
mhm,
when I was watching him, I was like, okay, he seems to be moving well. He's you can't. It's hard to tell with like hand usage and how the blocking actually is because they're not having pads and not going that kind of way. But based on my observations and then reading what Arthur Smith said afterwards about what he thought, kind of matches what I was seeing. So, I feel like that's a good. I feel good about that observation.
Mm-hmm.
But so we'll see if in the however long it takes for Hennessy to get back, can Bergeron snatch it and keep it,
That's gonna be
from Hennessy.
interesting. Yep. The big burning question: how was Bijan out there? Dude
Great,
looked awesome. Like
yeah,
take everything we
bro-
just said
broken
about.
record.
Yeah, I'm gonna say, take everything that we just said about hard to tell because you ain't got pads on and all this jazz. And but the one thing that you can tell is that dude just moves different.
Yep.
I know that it sounds cliche, but like watching his shiftiness in between the in the traffic, like watching the cuts that he's was making. Um, like King says, I like how they have Anderson guarding Bijan most of the time because if he can stay with him decently, he's got a good coverage play because Bijan is a complete headache and the hype is real. Yes, like the fact that that first time out, early on in the week, Anderson gets the upper hand, and since then, like Bijan has, it's like, all right, cool, fine, you're this quick, obviously, let's see if you can really keep up, and he's put some good moves on him, and
Yeah.
the two clips that you have seen, those have come like Bijan like out of the slot type situation, as a receiver, which is interesting in and of itself.
Well, I mean, like if you're going okay, so yeah, Anderson got him in part one, part two and three. Robinson got the better of him
Yep.
one time really badly. Uh, but like if he can at least hold his own against a guy like a Bijan, Troy Anderson, I mean, if he can hold his own against a guy like Bijan in practice, like there's very very few running backs out there that a Troy Anderson's going to be covering that are going to
That
be able to do the things that Bijan Robinson can do
right.
in the passing game. So if he can, get his in, occasionally, I think that's going to do wonders for him. I do feel like there are times where, and again, I don't necessarily expect it to. I didn't expect him to completely change from one year to the next. I do expect to see progress, and I will expect to see progress as the year goes along. But he
Mhm.
still feels like he's a little hesitant sometimes, and almost like he's it's still thinking too
Right.
much. He's
Yeah.
not just letting. He's not just playing.
Right.
But again, I expect as the season goes along, that will get better and better, and we may see it get better and better as training camp goes along, just like we've been seeing with Ritter. So
What you did see out of Caden Ellis, it was not necessarily rushing the passer like a lot, but you did see some like that mugged up look, that double A
mhm.
gap look. The
Saw
one
that
interest,
quite a bit.
yeah. What you did see, what I thought was interesting was like the variety of positions that Michael Walker has played in. You
Yeah,
know, from the middle of the field to up on the line, which is what had me excited about Michael Walker coming out of Fresno State. He was a very versatile player, and it seems like he might be getting back to that. Like Michael Rothstein asked him about that, and he made the comments that he's playing more covered up, which is more of like the 4-3 look, and like allowing him to run and be more free. So it's going to be interesting to see. It makes me feel like that they might be trying to put Walker in the Caden Ellis position and asking more like linebacker deals out of Ellis. So
that's possible. I know that based on like reading some stuff from uh, like some questions that were asked of Michael Walker, Michael Walker, after practice. He very much feels. It sounds like he very much prefers to be. Um, he very much prefers to be like on the outside.
Yeah.
He prefers that to being in the middle. Is what it sounds like. So my hope is that if they see that that's where he does better, that they keep him in that role as much as they possibly can, so that they put him in a best chance for success.
I think you're going to probably have Walker playing more of the third linebacker role.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That Sam, Sam linebacker, the one that rushes more. I think that's what you're going to get out of him, which I think would fit him better. Let's see. Bradley says, I think the fact that we have high end talent on both sides, it's iron sharpens iron, really means something. Our players will be better prepared. Maybe it will lead to a faster start of the season. One
That's
can
the hope.
hope. That's the hope, right? And I think the
Yeah.
deal is like somebody was talking, we were asking about the separation earlier, all my clips. I think what you're getting there is you're also getting a lot of man coverage, not a ton of like zone as of right now. So that means these guys are like pressed up on them and they're running step for step. So um, somebody asked about Zaylen Bag says, what's your guys' take on Scotty Miller? I feel like he looks good too, and feels like nobody's talking about that.
I mean,
Go ahead.
Yeah, if the offense is successful, I feel like Scotty Miller's the guy that kind of when the defense falls asleep at the wheel because they're so worried about everybody else, he's the guy that sneaks up and gets you, uh, once or twice a game. And so, I look for him to be a guy that will maybe average 3, 4, somewhere anywhere between 2 to 5 receptions in a game. And if he gets closer to 5, that probably means that everybody else is so worried about
Everything else.
Everything else
Yep.
that he is getting that third corner, or he's getting a safety, or maybe even a linebacker in some cases.
I really think what you're going to get with Miller is you're more like, because I think he's your real speed element.
Yes.
And yes, like Hollins is quick, so is Pitt, so is Drake, but there is a real difference in the speed that Miller has. So I think you're going to get like the like fly sweeps, coming around. I think you're going to get what we saw a good bit of today were like stacked formations and bunch formations. So if you're getting bunched formations, then uh, he could be that third in the bunch, basically taking a wide receiver screen, and using his speed and shifting us that way. I'd have to go back and look. I did not see a ton of like D'Angelo Malone today. I need to go back and
No.
watch the clips I had. He says, was D'Angelo Malone playing the same role as Caden Ellis also? Last year, yes. I wonder what they're going to do with D'Angelo Malone. Like,
Yeah.
do they play more? That's why I'm really curious about like getting to the preseason, to where I can study it better. It was kind of hard from our vantage point, it was kind of hard to see everybody and really like pick out numbers.
Yeah. I agree, Bradley. Scotty will be a single high safety killer when they stack the box. So yeah, you pound him, pound him, pound him, get him to bring that safety down, leave that high safety, that single high safety up there, and then you run, make him have to choose one side of the field. And yeah, I absolutely could see that being the case.
Oh yeah, like Miller definitely has that type of speed to him. Um, let's see. Now, another guy who is really popping out at this point in time, we'll see if it continues, is Clark Phillips. Clark Phillips third is definitely making a name for himself in training camp. Somebody likened him to D. Alford last year.
Mhm.
almost making it impossible to keep him off the field. Even today, he had an extremely nice, what would have been a pick six. I mean, he
Yeah.
stepped right in front of the little like slot route type pass, stepped right in front of it, grabbed it, and like I said, he'd have housed that thing.
Yeah.
He just has this knack for being, around the ball, making plays, is consistently making plays throughout training camp so far. He's a guy who I'm very impressed with.
Yeah, and he got beat earlier in the day before that pick six. Slade Bolden
Right.
got him on. This was on one on ones, and this is coming the day after where the yesterday in the one on ones he made the splash plays. He was looking really good. Didn't give up anything today. He gets beat in the one on one, comes back, gets a pick six, kind of runs down, and what have you. The thing that I Coach Smith said about that after the fact was, um, when he gets that pick six, he runs. He kind of ran away from everybody,
Mhm.
and then celebrate or whatever. And he was like, he would like to see him do something like that, but then come, basically celebrate with everybody.
Right.
Kind of do that. So, great. It's, like he's a rookie. He's doing things, he's just doing things he's not even realizing he's doing. But it's like you want to try to make sure you're coming back and celebrating with your guys, and then we move on to the next thing. So yeah,
Fred asks, Ritter has looked good on deep balls to me. Thoughts? Early on, it was like it's been a mixed bag depending on who you read. You have some
yep,
people out there that are covering the team that seem to have a little bit more of a pessimistic slant. Then you have other guys who um, seem to be more like objective. And but early on, the the deep ball was not connecting, and it looked better today. Like he hit Scotty Miller on a deep on a pretty deep shot. He hit Mac Hollins on a pretty deep shot. He had who was it? Was it he connected on Drake on a couple long passes on the sideline. So
yeah. He got with Patterson. Had a really good back shoulder throw to him and Scotty Miller.
right,
Uh, like the deep passes that we saw, okay, were not deep passes that he overshot or that he was wide of the mark or anything like that. The deep passes we saw were on the mark. Defense made a play.
right, yep, and
That's what it boils down to.
yep, and so I think that it is something that there is a small concern about. He didn't have the best deep ball coming out of college, deep ball accuracy, but how soon we forget the 40-yard strike to Drake London down the sideline with his like he was up in the air when he threw that ball. His feet were not on the ground. So he can do it. I think with more practice, it's going to get better, but he may not live with the deep ball. Does that make
Yeah,
sense? Like
yeah,
there's some quarterbacks, like for the most part, Tom Brady didn't live with the deep ball. He killed you with the underneath stuff, the dink and dunk. Same thing with Peyton Manning. They like he just needs to have it to where like the defense is respected.
yeah.
Like, and that's where
Well,
you got a guy like a Scotty Miller and even Drake London at time, Mac Hollins. Like, I think those guys they'll hit it enough to make the defense respect it.
and like you look at a guy like a Tom Brady. You look at a guy like there's lots of guys you could look at and say they were you know they were not early in their career, like the deep ball just wasn't a thing for them, like it wasn't a consistent thing, right? But the deep ball is more than just I'm gonna throw it up and guys go get it. Like a lot of it comes down to timing, knowing when to throw it, when to go
Yep.
for it, and sometimes it's like you also just throw it up and give your guy a chance, and depending on who you're throwing to, but that guy maybe comes down more often than not, or less often than not. So it all depends. There's a lot of different factors when it comes. But the biggest factor is timing, and knowing the person you're throwing to. Like, is it a Drake London type guy?
Right.
If it is, you want to try to give it as much air as you can so he can go up and high point it. If it's a guy like a Scotty Miller who's a little on the shorter side, you're probably going to want to try to get it to him, in a way where it benefits him, like give him some, like lead him some more, so he can go run up under it. And it all depends. And working that out with a bunch of new faces, like Mac Hollins wasn't here last year. Scotty Miller wasn't here last year. Jonnu Smith wasn't here last year. He didn't get a chance to play with Pitts.
Right.
Like almost every receiver
is Drake London. Only guy. Yeah, Drake London. And King makes a good point here, which once again got to shake King's hand. Very big individual. I have to be nice to King. At the training camp, he don't like pop my head off. Anyway, he says, I think Ritter is a better with deep balls on rollout plays to his right than staying in the pocket. So it's actually should be hard is easy for him, and what should be easy is kind of difficult. There are people like that when your back's against the wall kind of situation, you come out swinging better, and so who knows, right?
Well, and it's like that's kind of been a critique of Rodgers the last handful of years, is whenever he's had to try to play on schedule is when he struggles a little bit more.
Right.
But when he does the thing he did a lot that basically made his career, which is things he'd sit back there, wait, escape the pocket, buy more time, and then that's when you start pulling out the sandlot stuff, and you start throwing it down there, and those kinds of plays was what he made his career on.
Oh yeah, exactly. And that's the thing is that's the thing with a guy like something we were talking about with like Patrick Mahomes and all, and early in his career, like his deal was, we're going to build this offense around Tyreek Hill running deep, Patrick Mahomes keeping the play alive, and being able to hit Tyreek Hill. Now, as he has progressed in his career, like this past year, he wins the Super Bowl with Travis Kelce and a bunch of randos, in a sense,
on one leg.
Yeah, on one leg. He's still a freak of nature, but he's now a freak of nature that truly understands what in God's name he's doing. And so it'll be interesting to see how Ritter progresses. Do I think Ritter is going to be like Mahomes? No, I don't. But in this team, the way it's built, does he have to be? Probably not. So that's
Patience.
And that's the thing is Sir, dude, I ain't even gonna try that, bro.
Sir Bro.
Sir Bro. Okay.
This is not a closet Saints fan, is it?
There was one up there. He wasn't even a closet. There was a Saints fan.
He got booed mercilessly.
I was like, you are a brave man. Anyway, he says Ritter is more criticized and analyzed than Vic. I'll say this for a rookie, and I'm going to go ahead and just still kind of call him a rookie.
Yeah.
For a rookie, he is getting lambasted, and I think it's because people are. The fact that he's a third-round pick, the fact that the media had constructed a narrative of wanting the Falcons to go after Lamar Jackson, all this stuff is unfortunately getting piled on his shoulders, and he's not being afforded the same leash that a Bryce Young is afforded, a CJ Stroud is afforded, and Anthony Richardson is afforded. I didn't see Twitter melting down when Justin Herbert, who just signed a massive contract, threw a couple pick sixes in practice.
Yeah.
So us, a lot
or Bryce, Bryce Young had a miserable day yesterday. I don't know about today, but I know yesterday apparently had a miserable day.
Right. Bradley's the media is still mad we didn't draft Fields. It's because we have not followed the media's narrative. It's like we getting like dogpiled on. Like Fred Butts has got to hear. He's like, "What do y'all think about Steve Smith?" Steve Smith is a talking head at this point, but he's always
Yeah.
been kind of a clown in
Yeah,
the
but
things that come out of his mouth. He could
hell of a
play,
player.
yeah,
Hell
hell
of
of
a
a
player.
player, but some of his like takes since he has joined the media have been all over the place. And I'll say this: he was extremely quiet about Bryce Young,
Yep.
and the Falcons fan base, thankfully enough, let him know it.
Yeah.
So
he's got the small man syndrome.
right.
Like he's small in stature. Guy had an extremely successful NFL career.
Yeah.
Really good player, but he's just always got that chip on his shoulder because he's a short guy.
Right.
At least that's what it comes across as.
Right.
And it is what it is, man.
What's going on, Joshua?
What's going on, Josh?
Glad you are joining us this evening. He says, "What's good, fellas? We are just talking about our time up at training camp this morning,
Yep.
and what a good time it was. It was a lot of yeah." Chris is like, he's giving that zip. Yeah, he was dead quiet about his
Yeah.
QB getting worked in camp, but like realistically, isn't this when you want your QB to get worked? Like, isn't this when you want, hey, we need to figure out what we can do and what we can't do, what we have,
Yeah.
like, this is the time. Like, I don't want every throw that Ritter makes to be a perfect throw in a sense, or a perfect scenario, because game day, it isn't going to be a perfect scenario. He's going to get, crazy looks, and he's going to get, lamb-basted, things like that. So I would much rather see him trying it now to know what he can and can't do. So the coaches know what he can and can't do, what he is and isn't capable of, so that
Yeah.
they call the right plays for him.
Well, that's what I was kind of the Michael Walker situation earlier that I was talking about is like, let's find out middle, outside, rushing the passer, out in coverage, whatever the case may be, what is it that he does best? Let's find his best attributes. Let's find his weaknesses. And then hopefully what you do at that point is you try to do the best that you can to put him in a position to best show his success or allow
Right.
him to succeed. So, we might need to get a ban on Mr.
We ain't banning nobody.
No, we're not banning him.
Uh,
Saints own y'all. We'll
let's see.
see how
Hold on.
we'll see how that keeps going.
Let's see. I want to see something real quick because I saw that and I was trying to figure out, like, right now the series is full on tied.
Yep.
So, like, and ain't nobody owning nobody. You could say maybe in the past few years, past decade or so, it might be a little bit, lopsided towards the Saints. But according to the football database, it's 54-54. So have at it, my friend. And plus,
Yep.
like, I know you're just trying to pump yourself up, but you got Derek Carr as your quarterback. At least we have potential growth. Everybody knows what Carr is. So, like, I ain't saying he's like horrible or nothing like that. That'd be like you trying to get excited about having Kirk Cousins. So it's,
Bradley,
like,
hold on to it, but
that's right.
we're laying off right now. We're laying off right now.
Anyway, so like I said, we'll see. I'm not gonna, but I'll say this. Kareem, you're a Saints fan who is watching two guys talk about the Falcons. I tell you what, I ain't never done. I ain't never went into watched, a couple Saints fans talk about the Saints. So who's worried about who at this juncture?
I'm going to admit to something, and that
Oh,
is
oh.
whenever the Saints lose or like unfortunate, I don't know, like people get suspended for various reasons or whatever. I do like to troll the Saints forum, and I don't actually post anything. I just go and look, and
Okay,
I
well, if
see
you
the
ain't posting,
misery.
you ain't trolling.
Yeah,
So,
but I just love feeding on the misery of the Saints fans' tears whenever things are not going good for
That's right. So
I do.
yep. There
It
you go.
fuels me.
There it is. There it is. All right. Bobby D says, do you guys think regarding Ritter that some fanatics expect his failure in order to seek out other up? Yes, of course. I actually do.
Absolutely.
Like, I really do. Like, I don't understand the concept of wanting to see a guy fail. Even from the people who are in the fan base like that, I don't get really.
Yeah.
Like even with all the jokes and somewhat comments we've talked about with Mariota, when he was our starting quarterback, I wanted him to succeed. I was frustrated
Yeah.
when he didn't. Like I told, Toby back in the day, like it'll be a boon if either one of these guys a hit. And I keep saying if, because right now we don't know, right? We obviously know how it worked out with Mariota, but we don't know exactly how it's going to work out with Ritter. We hope, but yes, I think there are people out there who are wanting to see him fail in hopes of getting what might be, a Caleb Williams or a Drake May.
Yeah.
Like, but you don't know what, you know, you don't know what they're going to be in the league. You don't know what Bryce Young or CJ Stroud or like right now, Justin Fields' biggest asset is that he can run. Like he still hasn't developed as a passer yet. Jay Black, we appreciate you greatly, sir.
Appreciate it, Jay Black.
He says Ritter may have been drafted in the third round, but he's a first round talent. We'll see. Like what
We don't know. We don't know
right.
yet.
It's yeah.
Like at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what round he was drafted in. Like he is now in the league. He is a starting quarterback for an NFL team, our NFL team. All right. How history looks at him, whether it looks at him at all, is totally up to him and the organization to make sure that they're giving him the which they seem to be right now, giving him the weapons, giving him the support that he needs. And then it's also on him to continue to progress, to make the mistakes, but then learn from them, come back and be better after making your mistakes. Because nobody expects you to be perfect. Some people might, but those people can kick rocks because it does. Those are completely unrealistic expectations. Because Patrick Mahomes doesn't win a Super Bowl every year. Josh Allen still hasn't won a Super Bowl. Burrow
Justin
still
Herbert
hasn't won it. Justin Herbert hasn't even got to the playoffs yet.
Right. Exactly. So, like, I'll say this for the kid, as far as his, college, career is concerned, like back to back years, he had Cincinnati playing against, in position to play against top level talent. Until like Georgia woke up, he had them on the ropes in the Peach Bowl. And then the following year, they took it to Alabama for a good chunk of that game. So, can the kid play? Yeah. Can he play in the NFL? We're going to figure it out. He's going to get a shot this year. So, we're going to figure it out, and Antoine Wartime TV says, I hope Ritter has a great year because I'm a Falcon for life. But if he don't, we still have a great backup and Tyler Heineke, who played at a high level. He did. But here's the deal with a guy like Heineke. Like, if he was, again, just that Ryan Fitzpatrick type deal. If he was starter material, he would have stuck in Washington or he would have stuck anywhere else he has been.
Yeah.
Like, can he come in and give you some spot starts? Yes. How many teams did Ryan Fitzpatrick play for? Pretty much all of them, didn't he? And he'd come in and give you a 6-7 game stretch where played well enough to coin the term Ryan Fitzmagic.
Yep.
But he could never hold on to the starting job because inevitably stuff would start falling apart around him. So who knows if
like it's just Tyler Heineke to this point in his career has been a successful backup.
Yes, a high level.
Now, could he have further success as a quarterback in the league becoming the starter because either injury or Ritter not playing really, playing really badly. Not that he's not playing well, but that he's playing really badly. Okay, just making stupid errors and things like that. If that's happening and he gets put in, okay, now he becomes a starter. Could he become a guy like? Because before he went to the Super Bowl in '98 with the Falcons, Chandler was a journeyman.
Right.
Like Chris Chandler had played with a bunch of teams. He was generally a backup. He may be coming and start early on, but then would get put bench for some other guys. But he was a journeyman quarterback. And then he comes to the Falcons, and it's just the right spot. Now, do I expect that from Heineke? No, I'm now using your pronunciation, Heineke.
Heineke. Come
on. But Heineke, do I expect that? No, I don't. Could it happen? Absolutely. Could it happen with Ritter? Absolutely. I just from the pedigree and from what we know of the man that Ritter is, it just feels like the overall talent may not be as high as some of the elites, the Josh Allens and what have you of the league.
Yeah.
But I feel something. There's an intangible thing that I feel when I've watched him play, and it feels right. It just does, and we'll see how it all pans out. I could be completely wrong, and this guy may be one of the worst quarterbacks we've ever seen, but you'd have to go pretty far to get there.
Yeah, I mean, like legitimately, like at the end of the day, the jury's still out. Whether I kind of agree with the first part of Chris's sentiment. He says Ritter needs to hit so that we're not playing the QB carousel game for the next 10 years.
That's what I don't want to be.
Right. Yes. I don't want to be in that situation. I've watched, the Browns do it for so many years to a point where they, fully guaranteed a contract to Deshaun Watson to get him there. I've, watched the Jaguars do it, and they hope that they have found the right combination in Trevor Lawrence and Doug Peterson. You've watched now since Eli Manning has retired, they, the Giants just shelled out a good bit of money to what is the hope of Daniel Jones. So, is Ritter that guy? I don't know. I hope so. And I hope so just because I want to, I want to be done with that aspect of it. I don't want to have to question, is this going to be the guy? So
and we haven't had to worry about that for 13 years,
right?
It's like 14 years. Like it was 13 or 14 years that we didn't have to worry about anything.
Right.
And we knew every year Matt Ryan was going to be the quarterback.
Yep.
We didn't have to worry, was he, what are we going to do a quarterback this year? We didn't have. Now we're kind of there. Hopefully, Ritter's a guy that the coach specifically wanted. So if Arthur Smith sees something in him, let's see if he was right in his assessment.
We'll see,
and we're gonna see. So
I'll say this: like he says, Bijan will somehow change the dynamics of running back university. The culture change in the backfield has shifted, and now you have to be dynamic in order to get paid like one. If he lives up to what we have seen, somebody asked earlier up in the chat talking about have we seen any like different position groups and stuff like that. If he does what he is showing the potential of being capable of, like he has the potential, especially with this offense and this, coaching staff, to get paid, to get paid, quite handsomely. I could see a scenario where I hate to say it like this, that depending on how it all shakes out, somebody like a Kyle Pitts or Drake London might not get paid as to where Bijan does, if he is that spark to the offense the way Arthur Smith wants, and who knows, right? I think it could be very interesting. Speaking to that, position group, I saw a handful of times during the practices that you had Tyler Algier and Bijan on the field at the same time. Bijan out in the slot, Tyler in the backfield. I saw a deal where they had an empty set. They broke huddle in an empty set. You had Cordell by himself out wide, condensed bunch, closer to the line, and then I think it was Pitts on the other end or Drake on the other end.
I think it was Pitts.
It might have been Pitts on the anyway. And then Cordell motions into the backfield.
Yep.
And then when they hike the ball, like the Cordell goes out on a wheel route, the bunch clears that whole side. They almost like everything they run, they draw the focus of the defense, and Cordell's in there by himself. Yep. And so, yes, you are seeing some creativity in that aspect. I saw a good bit more like I formation type stuff, where Mariota wasn't as comfortable under center. A lot of the snaps Ritter was under center. So I think you're going to see a lot more diversity. I think you're going to see a lot more, or like getting closer to, the 2020 Titans offense, which I think, with the balance and the production is where they want to be. Yep. All right. I think we're going to start wrapping this thing up. I know you said you got some dinner plans. I don't want to take those up, but yes, Dream, I think it is going to be a lot of motions, a lot of misdirections, a lot of things to be confusing. And this is the last thing I'm gonna comment on Kareem, just the Saints fan here. You're talking about like not a good cornerback. Holy Pete, dude, you got a guy whose nickname is Grabamore. So just calm down there, man. Like enjoy the show. Go find the Saints channel to watch or something. I'm not exactly sure, like if you're just that bored. I don't know. Maybe y'all don't have good content creators. I know us over here at the Falcons, we got a ton of content creators. And
all right. Yeah, it is what it is, man. But some people are just delusional.
I don't understand.
It's gonna they're not gonna believe it until like somebody one day they're gonna wake up and they got that brown paper bag back over their head. Like, how did we get here?
Right.
What happened?
Like I don't understand the concept of I'm going to go into like another team's chat. I know, I get it. We're rivals, understand. And if we were at the stadium, I would have fully expect you to like talk crap back and forth. But have you not had like something better to do with your Saturday night? But whatever.
All right. So I will say this. Cameron, you want to come over here? You want to talk smack and stuff like that? Leave the obscenities.
Yeah, please do.
Chat, please.
Right.
Don't do that. You do that. You can come over here anytime you want, and we'll chat with you. We'll talk ish back and forth, and that's fine. And it's all good. It's we'll trash talk, and that's good. Have a ball doing that. Leave the obscenities out.
Yeah,
do it again. If you
don't mind.
You do it again, and we're not going to welcome you back.
Exactly. So, all right, folks.
But I do want to see real quick. This just for like maybe about another maybe 2 or 3 real quick questions. If anybody has any more that they want to give us, if you have anything specifically about this weekend or this camp that the practice that took place today, we'll just try to answer you a couple more. So
right, all right. TDP says, what do y'all think about the young DBs? Clark Phillips has looked really good. Darren Hall might be on his way to the practice squad or out. But Okudah hasn't looked bad. To the deal, Okudah hasn't looked horrible. I know some people are kind of getting on him because of some of the clips I've posted, but I think all in all, Okudah has looked real well. I think we're going to have a good tandem between AJ Terrell and Jeff Okudah. Grant has looked good. You could definitely, he seems like he's a lot more comfortable because with Jesse Bates. So that's been encouraging.
Yeah. Here's one from Bradley. Left guard. I mean, again, without the pads, without like the full contact, it's kind of hard to tell. We only got a chance to see Bergeron today. he looked good.
He looked
from what we
like
can tell.
he didn't look out of place, right?
Right.
From what we could see, he looked like he was moving well, looked like he was getting out in space, and then that's what that's what we want. And so MJ says, when do the pads come on? I think Monday.
That's what we're hearing is Monday is when the pads are supposed to come on. So
Fred Butts is asking about the pass rush. Again, hard to tell without being able to actually tackle or the pads being on. But by all accounts, Zach Harrison has looked pretty good as far as the third round project. Bud Dupree has had some good pressures.
Yeah, I'll say that like there were quite a few times where in the like 11 on 11 they would drop back to pass, and I saw some good pressure.
Right.
That just seems it's everything that I've been hearing, and nothing I saw today like dissuades me of that. But everything I've been hearing up to this point has been that the defensive line has looked ferocious.
Right.
And it looked good today. So
yeah. Mayfield knocking down the Jenga all but seals his fate. Yeah, he is destined to be a car salesman, I believe, or an insurance salesman, maybe. Yeah. Let's see. He says TD says, hopefully I'll run into you guys on Saturday if y'all come out. I might, depending on what goes on.
I probably won't, but if
I don't know. I might swing back up there just because I would like to see them with pads on. So. All right, folks, I think that is going to do it for us tonight.
Yes.
We appreciate all y'all who stopped by and hung out with us and chatted it up. Apologize about the gentleman in his language. Hopefully he finds something better to do for the evening. Yes. We will be back live on Tuesday, hopefully with some more fun stuff to talk about. And yeah. As always, y'all can follow me on Twitter. I'm at Grimm1128, GRIMM1128. Jonathan?
At Jonathan M. Holder. Come by, say hi.
And if you're on the new threads, you can follow us at pound for pound. It's all spelled out, pound for pound ATL. You can follow us there. You might actually get some more extreme takes, as I don't have we don't have a huge following over there, so I'm just kind of letting it fly without much recourse. But anyway, so we'll see y'all again on Tuesday. And as always, Falcons fans, rise up.
Rise up.